Last year, at the women's Final Four, Iowa basketball star Caitlin Clark led her Hawkeyes versus LSU in the national final. That game drew nearly 10 million viewers, more than doubling the highest ever rating for a women's basketball game, a higher rating than the World Series last year. Now, it turns out it's not just an exception. Women's sports are gaining momentum, and an Ohio State professor says he has the data to prove it.
You see the athleticism of a football player, of a receiver, and you watch Simone Biles. I mean, talk about athleticism, you know what I mean? And college women's sports are the same.
On Ohio State's campus, they've noticed an attendance boom, in particular for women's sports like volleyball and gymnastics.
I used to get a couple emails every day from potential recruits. I'm getting upwards of 50 a day.
Clearly, storylines or examples of excellence draw people in to caring about girls and women's sports. But also, I think part of what we're seeing is a more prolonged investment and exposure.
Ohio State sociology professor Chris Knooster co-authored an expansive study on who watches and follows girls and women's sport. The survey included nearly 4,000 Americans surveyed between 2018 and 2019. That data shows more than 55% of Americans spent at least some time consuming women's sports, with many watching for about an hour per week. That interest stands in stark contrast to the amount of coverage women's sports receive. They estimate less than 5% of sports media coverage focuses on women's athletics.
People are noticing, and I think for me, when I really realized was when people would ask, like, why couldn't we watch your game, or what was your game on, something like that, and it's like, wow, people are really looking for our games and want to watch us.
I think we're just seeing the beginnings of many decades now of investment and new levels of achievement and new ways to disseminate what's going on.
Another source of growth for women's sports: name, image, and likeness opportunities. LSU's Angel Reese, LSU gymnast Livy Dunn, and Iowa's Caitlin Clark rank among the most marketable athletes in college sports.
Social media has been a very, very big platform for a lot of people to kind of see like a lot of the cool flips, and people watch and they're like, wow, like that's amazing.
And I think most women's sports are really capitalizing on all of the different components in terms of social media engagement, family engagement, student engagement, all the different aspects that make going to a sporting event fun. Now, this study is timely because this Sunday, the Buckeye women's basketball team hosts Iowa and Caitlin Clark.
Yeah.
That's a noon tip-off at the Shot on Sunday. I checked with Ohio State on the ticketing for that game. More than 16,000 tickets have been sold. Wow. By Sunday, it could be a sellout.
And we talked about that and what we expected the crowd to be because, of course, we really got that first glimpse last year.
For sure.
When Ohio State and Iowa played. I remember my sister and brother-in-law went to that game. The score was not in Ohio State's favor, but they talked specifically about what the atmosphere and the environment was like. So very excited to see that happen.
Important reminder, if you can't go to the game, you can watch it right here on NBC4. Again, that's a national broadcast, Sunday, NBC4 noon, the Buckeyes in Iowa.